What are the main steps to start with the EB2 NIW? What are the most common challenges specifically for healthcare professionals when they go through the application? How would you explain the importance of having that business plan?
Are you a doctor, nurse, or other healthcare practitioner and wondering how you can move and work in the United States? I am Marcos Bravo, and today we'll talk about the EB2 NIW Visa, one of your best options to practice in the US. This visa is for talented people like yourself who will use their skills and expertise to contribute to the US economy. For this video, I invited world-class immigration expert Stanislav Shamayev. He is an immigration attorney with his own practice in Miami and has helped many EB2 NIW applicants from the healthcare industry over the years. And today he's here to help you understand everything you need to know about this visa. Let's dive in.
All right, thank you one more time, Stanislav, for being with us. I have a lot of questions to ask about. Everybody thinks, at least the people that knows, that the EB2 NIW is STEM fields specifically, but we're going to get into the healthcare professionals subject. But for those who don't know what really is, can we start from the beginning? Can you explain us what the EB2 NIW is and how is it different from other employment-based visas?
So, yes, thank you. There are different ways to explain what EB2 NIW. There is a more formal way, and there is a more like colloquial. Let's put it this way. And I like to break down the law, and immigration law is more in a way that's more understandable to regular people like us also. So that's what I'm gonna do. So don't mind me not using a lot of legalese like a lot of attorneys do, right? Because nobody understands what that means. So EB2 NIW is one of the two exceptions in the whole immigration field that does not require an employer for filing the petition. And this is very important. Somebody can say, well, so what? Well, everything else does require, right? So if you don't have an employer, that means that you will not be able to file for a lot of other immigration type of visas. So EB2 NIW, as much as EB1A, but EB1A is not the subject of today's conversation, is one of those exceptions. So that's where we want to begin. And this visa has a few stages of understanding. The first stage, we need to prove that we have either the advanced degree or we have the so-called exceptional abilities. What is an advanced degree? Two things, either bachelor's and 5 years of experience in a specialty, or master's degree with 0 experience requirement. But we all know that we still need that experience. And if we don't have an education, or sometimes in alternative for the education, we use the exceptional ability. An exceptional ability consists of 6 criteria. We may say 7. The 7th is everything else. And we need to satisfy at least 3 of those criteria. For example, 10 years of experience, member in a professional association, and contribution in the industry. Okay, so that's what I call prerequisite for participating in.
So it's sort of a visa that aims to very high level professionals, right?
Yes, definitely. You must be at least a good professional in your field. And before we proceed to the next stages, I just want to make a little remark that for probably around 90% of the EB2 NIWs that I file, and I don't want to say that we file a lot, but 5-7 cases a month, I think is a pretty significant number of those visas if you do many years of calculation on that. And 90% of those cases are related to STEM category: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And the rest, the 10%, the rest of it is for business, and usually business in STEM. Okay, so that's
it's always related.
We need to be somehow STEM related. The law says this: athletes and cultural. I've never had. I heard other colleagues had those cases. I never had them straightforward as a collateral thing to the main petition. So we're talking about the professionals in the field. Now, once we establish that we have higher education, advanced degree, or exceptional abilities, or both, we need to propose the idea of endeavor. And now the question is, what is an endeavor? And no one knows. No one knows what endeavor is. I like to substitute this word because for English speakers, it's more or less okay to know what it means. But for non-English, a little bit hard. Like, what's endeavor? I like to use the word project. Okay, so what kind of project? What is the idea of the project we want to propose to the US government? And we need to satisfy two things here. Number one, substantial merit, and number two is the national importance. That's what the national interest is. One more time, substantial merit.
So that's what NIW stands for, right?
Yes, the national interest waiver, EB2 national interest waiver. So what is, and again, like, oh God, Stanislav, you said you're not going to use the legalese, but you're using them. Yes, but I'm going to break them down. So substantial merit, what's substantial merit? Well, we need to resolve or propose a solution to some kind of a problem, right? And if we're talking about healthcare professionals in the field, well, there are a lot of problems in the medical field, like diseases, drugs, the mental health awareness, the corporate settings of people who burn out and things like that. And all of those, they affect the overall economy and the productivity of the society. So those people who are in the medical field or in the business of medical field, those are really good candidates for the EB2 NIW because we definitely have something to propose to resolve some problem. Okay, so that's the first prong. The second prong is the solution to this problem that we propose. Is this important to the US government? And again, we could make arguments for both sides, but usually for medical field, that's kind of obvious. Any government wants to have
healthy people,
a healthy population, right? Let's put it in simple terms. So that's what the second stage of what EB2 NIW is, and the third one, the last, and there's more, but I combine them because that's too much. So the last one is well positioned. What is to be well positioned to be able to realize the proposed idea, the proposed project? That has two parts, the past and the future. So in the past, we need to show everything: education, similar projects, certifications, participation in the industry, if we had some contribution in the industry, if we had some publications, conferences, everything else that put us in the position to realize the project. That's the past part. The future part usually has to do with the resources that we need to put in this project. And if that idea, the proposed project, has some kind of investment requirement, we need to show that we have money. If we do not have to have that funding of the project, if it's a consulting services or we're bringing the education part of this industry, then probably the money is not in the issue. So once we have the education or exceptional ability, the resolution of some important problem, which is important to the US government, and we show that we are in the position from the standpoint of the past and the future to realize that project, that's when we get the approval for EB2 NIW.
And now, in the case of healthcare professionals, when you were talking about exceptional abilities, like what could be a good example of things that these professionals can pick or can sort of bring in?
So, and this is a great question, but the answer is going to be much easier than you expect. Because if we are healthcare professionals, that means that most of the time we have a license to be in the profession, right? It could be a doctor, it could be a nurse, it could be a technician. All those professions, they require the licensing, and the licensing require the education. So basically all healthcare professionals, do have the education. So I've never had the healthcare specialist EB2 NIW case with no education, because that's kind of the nature of that field. So usually that question does not pop up. But if, let's say, in a hypothetical world where we have maybe a businessman in the healthcare field, right? Like I had a recent approval for EB2 NIW for a Canadian businesswoman who was bringing the medical equipment to Canada. And she wanted to do the same for the States, and it's kind of unique equipment, which is cheaper and does the better work. Okay, so that was her project, and she had the finance and show that she would be successful. And we didn't have to prove that she was a healthcare professional, but that she was a businesswoman with abilities to push this project. So and she didn't have education in business, so we had to show her exceptional ability, her experience, her association membership, that she did the contribution in the field of business, in the medical field in Canada, and things like that.
And now that you mentioned that, like people that is not a doctor, let's say, right, they still can sort of push this thing around. But when it takes for the actual medical professionals, is there any sort of area that is easier for them to apply, or any area that you've been seeing a lot of people applying to the visa?
So I'm a firm believer that any medical professional can apply either for EB2 NIW or EB1A, depending on the situation, regardless of exact field that they're experts in. But my experience in this field is more with mental health awareness. We have quite a streak, just this 2024, of medical professionals in this field of mental health awareness, which is a huge problem in the US. Like in any Western, let's put it this way, Western country, where people have to work and provide for the families, and a lot of stress, and people burn out and go crazy and get the whatever diseases that are coming from the stress. So if somebody's listening us in this field, the psychology, psychiatry, the corporate mental health awareness, those are great things to come up with as a proposed endeavor. However, also do not forget that bringing the new technology or innovation in the field, for example, like dental field is a pretty good for EB2 NIW. One of my last cases where a specialist was bringing the technology of digital mouth. Right, so they do the digitalization of your mouth. Right, it's like once and forever. So they do it, and whatever the procedures they need to do, you don't have to put anything new in your mouth. You know, so nobody wants to have like this cold clay, whatever they put. It's disgusting. So it's only for one time. Something changed, and so nobody wants it. So this guy was like the expert in educating other dentists to do those things, to digitize the practice. So those things are really good to bring in the technology or innovation, but also the new ways of diagnostics. Let's say and it's always kind of healthy combination between a medical field professional and IT people, because the modern trend of diagnostics in the medicine, whatever that field is, oncology is probably number one of those, right? Oncology diagnostics is really important because we have the facts that, let's say some patients have X-rays or MRIs 4 years before, and doctor could not see anything, and any human could not see anything, but AI could see that little something and raise the red flags.
Make sense of it.
Yeah. So a good combination between medical professionals and IT people is very beneficial for EB2 NIW. And I speak it not only in theory, but we do have a bunch of really good cases where a doctor with IT guy got a platform and they provide some services for whatever they do in their field. This is a really good combination.
Now, when you talk about before also, like obviously great examples of people who are applying or people who can apply. But obviously, the NIW, there's a lot of proof that you need to bring. And regarding the qualifications and achievements, right? What are the strongest ways that they can prove these things? Either are the prices or research, or what can be the best way for them to prove that I am the right person for the EB2 NIW?
Right. And by the way, I'm happy you mentioned the word research, because that in itself, continuing doing the research per Dan Azar, and guys, who's listening to us right now or watching us, if you're serious about doing EB2 NIW sometime in the future, you have to read the case called In the Matter of Dan Azar. This is the framework of the entire EB2 NIW structure. So it's 9 pages, nothing crazy, but a lot of layers of information. So one of the examples in Dan Azar of a proposed endeavor is continuing research, academic research. So if we don't propose any specific materialistic, let's put it, say, or practical thing to apply, we can go with the research only. And if we wanna push that topic, we have to show that our client, the beneficiary, has been doing that research for a while. So he or she has the qualification and the topic and the trends that they're going to continue to do it in the future. However, with this being said, I do believe that having academic or scientific publications is one of the ways to improve any EB2 NIW, regardless of the topic. And that's what we do with our clients. That's how we have the resources to do that if someone never done it before, right? So we have people helping with do it efficiently and fast. So legal research, the academic research is really something that immigration officers are keen to see in those petitions, and that's something that gives them that picture of a person who's putting their time in the science and want to push that in the future. But also education itself, the training that we got. Additional licensing and continuing education credits. Very important, similar projects in the past. Let me give you one more example of a recent approval for EB2 NIW for medical field. This lady, she is a psychologist. And all her career, she's been helping the corporate, huge corporations or big corporations, or even small ones, the businesses, to build a program for their employees not to get burned out, not to lose stamina, and be healthy in their heads, right? So she had a few big projects in her past. And we were putting those projects in the beginning of the petition to show to the immigration officer that not only we have education in this and certifications and we recognized in the field, but also we practically done those things with the results. Okay, and there was an example of one corporation with 100 employees, and their productivity was never above 55%. When she came and implemented the programs that she did for the company, their productivity rose like up to 65, 70, which is really huge increase, big increase.
The bosses are happy.
Yeah, bosses are happy. They're making more money. People
exactly. Everybody's happy.
People get promotions, the company is going forward, pays more taxes to the government. So it's all, it's rolling like a snowball. And she's done quite a few of those. So the past similar projects of what we offer him here in the US are really important for this petition. And again, I can go on, but I want to just highlight the most important things.
Yeah. And in the same page, because also you mentioned before that for education, right? And education is sort of a given, because if you have a license, you obviously have an education. You cannot fake that. But is there any, though, specific education requirements for the EB2 NIW?
Yes, absolutely. We need to have at least the bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience in the field. So let's say someone is a psychiatrist, right? I don't think maybe some European countries probably provide opportunity with a bachelor's degree to do this kind of work, but it's rare. But let's say that's the thing. So there would be a bachelor's and 5 years of experience, right? So 5 years working for the clinic or for a hospital or in the private practice. Most of the time it's master's and up. So let's say if you have PhD, or some countries have like subtypes of PhD, like in Russia, for example, we have a little like different ways to get it, and they different qualifications to get it. So anything above that will qualify even without experience. But again, we know that if it's not continuing research, we do need an experience with whatever we do. So bachelor's in 5 years of experience, or master's or above with no experience requirement per the law. So, and the last thing I wanted to mention as to what we want to see in the petition to show that we're well positioned, basically, or that we have the exceptional ability, and that's the recent trend. It's never been like this, and Marcus, things are changing rapidly with the immigration field. If attorney is not doing those cases constantly, that they lose.
You lose track.
The reality, yeah, they don't know what's wanted from them. So today we notice that what really is a deal breaker for immigration officer, if it's like average case, right? What's the deal breaker for the officer is to have the letters of support from the US. In other words, to get some proof that someone in or something in the US needs us, needs our services, needs our experience. Let it be it a person, a company, organization, association, the government agency. If we get some letters of the support from the US, this is really good for the petition.
It's good to know, because that's something you have to work out. It doesn't happen like that.
Exactly.
To find the right connections, do a lot of networking. But now I have a question that comes out a lot with any visa, really, right? Let's say you have the EB2 NIW. Can you apply for a green card as yourself, right, after you are in the US? So you already made it with that visa. Can you apply for a green card?
Yes, but...
So there's always one.
Yes, there's always but, and definitely in this category of immigration employment-based visas. So let me introduce the concept of visa bulletin, okay, and the priority dates. So each per year, the United States Congress authorized to produce about 700,000 employment-based visas, right? So and if I'm not mistaken, the second category, which is EB2, gets 28% out of the whole 700,000 available visas per fiscal year, which begins October 1st and ends end of September of each year. So the second category gets about a little bit below 200,000 available visas for this category, but there are many more filings than the amount of visas available per year, which means that creates a backlog for the whole system. And as of today, the backlog for EB2 NIW is about 1 year and 6 months after the approval of the petition, unless you're from India. Okay, if you're from India, forget about it. Next podcast. So the Indians have like 12 years of wait, because not only matters how many petitions are filed, but from which country, and each country does not get more than 7% of the total visas available in this category. Because we know there's a lot of STEM people and smart, really good engineers, doctors, architects, IT people from India who file and get approved. They get a longer line, right? But everybody, China is also this longer. China and India are the two that gets the backlog. Everybody else, so if you're from Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Russia, that you have only a year and a half backlog. Now, each month, the Department of State releases a new, the refreshed visa bulletin. And Visa Bulletin reflects all the backlogs for certain visa categories that we need. So we need to track those visa bulletins and see the priority dates for our clients who got approval. Now, if we are in the US and we have an approval for EB2 NIW and we're not from China or India, we need to make sure that we are in the legal status in the US for the next year and a half. And the easiest way to get that, there are a few ways to achieve that requirement. The easiest way is to get the student status, to change to the student status. We kind of cannot look legally. That's how it's done. But legally, we cannot do this for the purpose of waiting for our priority date, right? So it's like, it's almost like a play of the words, like the way you say it, right? And what's legal, what's illegal. But that's what usually is being done. You are on F1 status. So and once your priority date comes in, you can file for the green card and get your status adjusted. So that's number one. Number two, many of our clients get the O1 visa, which is non-immigrant and which is good for 3 years. And O1 is a talent visa. It's a little different category, but usually in many cases, 90% of those who got EB2 NIW, they can get
They do have it.
O1. They can get, yeah. So that gives you 3 years head start. So once your priority date kicks in, we file the form I-485 for each family member and ask the US government to give us the green card while we're in the US.
All right, it's quite. I mean, especially the backlog is quite impressive. But let's move now directly to the application process. I'm pretty sure everybody who heard this is already convinced. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. So, what are the main steps to start with the EB2 NIW? How would you start?
Well, I know exactly how I would start because
you have the inside, all the inside knowledge.
Yes, and there are different ways to approach it. Well, first of all, we need to know, do we qualify for this? Right? So where do we start? Do we start from the point if we know we qualify, what's our next step? Or there are some people who may be not sure if they do qualify. So if someone is like, yeah, I got the education, I got the experience, I know what I'm doing right now, I know it resolves some problem in the healthcare industry, I know that I will be able to propose this to the US government and this is important to them, and all my past experience and all my things in the future will show that I will be able to do this, right? That's the self-qualification. That's the option number one. Then you just need to start the case. That's it. It's like you need to hire an attorney, a good attorney who knows what they're doing, and start gathering the evidentiary base for all those criteria that we mentioned, right?
Just as a ballpark, how long does it take from the moment that you say, okay, I'm starting, till the moment that you get the EB2?
I can do it for 6 months.
Okay.
Right. So
that's not bad.
Yes, it's not bad. The way we do it, because I've been doing it for so long, almost for 10 years, just working for my corporation. We have 100 employees and 10 departments in the company, and when you get to this level, you have to build the processes and the deadlines and everything else. So each visa that we work with, and we work only with very narrow niche with the immigration field, like one of EB2 NIW is one of those. Also talent visas and the business visas. We have processes for each visa when you work with a team. So basically, we use the 2 weeks increments to create the evidentiary-based documents, to review them, assess them, to modify them, and to switch to the next set of the documents. And we go by those 2 weeks for the next 5 months, right? Working on improving the case and describing the case. Those are two different processes. I don't know how other attorneys do it, honestly. Never.
You have your system.
Yeah, we have a very good system in place, which we're still building and developing to improve it, because you can always improve. In case someone is like, okay, maybe I can qualify, I'm not sure, maybe I want to discuss the project and things like that, then in my company we have a process that's called a free evaluation. Right? So it's a link that must be under this podcast somewhere, where you can click on it, fill out the form, and within 2 days, I'll get back to you and tell you if you have the case, basically, right? If you have the fundamental case, and if you do, then we have the next step, which is called complex immigration planning, where in 2 phases, I create the written strategy to win the case. And the third step is to hire my company if everybody loves each other and everybody loves the process. So that's how we do it in our company.
And in the documentation side, there's plenty, right? But what is the key documentation that, as a healthcare professional, you will need?
So we need to evaluation of the diploma of our education. That's done pretty fast. Usually takes about 2 months. I like the Silvergate company, and I'm not trying to advertise them or anything. We use a bunch of companies, but Silvergate seems to be the best for all cases, because they're using that. And the reason, not because we just all it's they're using this specific database that's used by the USCIS. Okay, because you can get the West evaluation, it may be good or not, but sometimes we see that officer says, oh, wait, they didn't use this approach to evaluate, so we're not going to accept it. So Silvergate is doing a great job on that. So we need that thing is first. We also need, and again, there's a lot of documents, but the basic to begin the case, right? The evaluation of the diploma. Then we need to know if we're gonna start our endeavor, our project through the company, and that's usually a good thing to do. So we usually register an LLC or a corporation in the US and claim that to be the corporate structure for realization of the project, of the endeavor. And also we need either a business plan or the professional plan. And that's when you guys come in the picture, right? You help with both. You guys do really great job with the business plans and the professional plans. And usually business plan is when we have a corporate structure, and the professional plan when we don't have the corporate structure. But sometimes it depends on the situation. And if the project requires the funding, we want to see the money. Okay, if there is no funding, it's something else, then no problem. We just go with those basic things, and then we start building the case based on them.
And something you mentioned about the letters of support, that is something that is very key, right? How would you recommend people to find those letters of support? Because it's not something you just apply. You need to have connections. They need to know your work. So what's sort of the process behind the letters of support?
The letters of support is very it's very expensive thing in the case because the letters are used basically to prove everything, right? So it's like the bottom line of each criterion is to have a support letter proving that it's true, coming from somebody else or something else if it's a corporate structure. So if we are discussing the topic of recommendation letters / expert opinion letters, then I require 15 of those, 15, right? 15 recommendation / expert opinion letters. And those are really important in a case because we use the opinions of the experts in the field to prove the specific criteria, or to discuss the implementation of that project for the purpose of the national interest. All right. So those are very, very important. And who can be an expert? Who could be that person or entity who could write those letters? It's kind of easy and hard at the same time because that person or thing must have an expertise. Okay, what is an expertise? Yes, what is an expertise? You want to ask because nobody really knows, right? So what's the definition of that? Well, that person must have enough education, experience, knowledge, understanding similar projects and things of that nature to be able independently assess the case of the person who files for EB2 NIW. So that's the like general but pretty clear definition of who could be an expert. And that also could be a company. If company possesses that kind of expertise, maybe they're in the field of medical services or goods or whatever that is, they can also be a recommender for that purpose. But again, those letters from the US also could be support letters, right? Like, hey, we want John from Spain because he want to introduce the new compliance with pharmaceuticals drugs, right? We want him because he's going to help us to push those drugs to the market and to the consumers, right? So that's great for any case if somebody wants that person in the US to work with them.
And when you don't have enough, or maybe you do have enough, but you want to make your case even stronger, right? What about academic achievements? Do they play a little role in there? Can you bring those up as to strengthen your application?
Absolutely, absolutely. We already touched on this topic from the point of view of publications, but there are other academic achievements like teaching at the university or somewhere else, creating your own courses. Maybe private courses, not for the government entities. Then speaking at the conferences. And I believe that speaking at the conferences is just great overall for any visa. You know, if you speak at the conference, that's the showcase of your expertise recognition, right? Because no one is going to bring a person who doesn't understand the topic to the conference to speak at the public, right? So this is really great for any kind of talent-based petitions, and I believe EB2 NIW is a talent-based petition too. So what else? Dissertation. If you have a dissertation, this is really good. And there may be other options also to get the green card besides EB2 NIW. Citations in the publications, really good. You know, that's also recognition of expertise because if the people cite your work, that means it's important and it's a good work. So those things really nice. If you do the peer review of publications of others, that's also academic achievement. If you take exams starting from masters and up, that's also good academic achievement. If you choose people to speak at the conferences, or you choose the publications to be published in the journal or something like this, this is really good too.
And going to the point, let's say we have all of these things. This is perfect, but obviously the business plan is something that is key nowadays.
Yeah.
So how would you explain the importance of having that business plan?
I guess it's easy to explain. I do not file EB2 NIW without a business plan. So,
That's probably key.
Yeah, I would, believe it or not, I have it in my contract. I have it in a contract, and it's a matter of not. And of course, I know you guys doing a great job with your business plans and professional plans, because we had like dozens cases together on different topics, but we kind of put it in a contract that they have to do it either themselves if they're capable of doing this, and we're ready to provide all the resources, but the best way is to use the professionals. And look, guys, if you want to do it yourself, we'll take it, but trust me, it's not worth the money that you would spend on the professionals. It's just not worth it. And on top of that, we actually, if they don't bring if our client, and we love our clients, don't get me wrong, we do it for the client's benefits. But if the client brings that business plan like self-made, or from some company that we don't know who they are and the quality of the work, we would charge them the same amount of money to work with this business plan as you guys, this Joorney, would charge the client to do the whole thing. So it's we kind of push the clients to do this because it's in the best interest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, you want to fight a case that is not strong enough, and you kind of convince them to do otherwise. So we have all of this, a good business plan, but things sometimes don't go as planned. We know that, I mean, you guys are very good at what you do, but sometimes things don't work in many things. So what are the most common challenges specifically for healthcare professionals when they go through the application?
So I don't want to repeat myself, but I think it's important for this question too. I think most of those cases in the medical field, they will get approval without RFE. So meaning that those specialists in huge demand, and there are a lot of problems in this field, and those kind of petitions are getting the green light from the US government. However, let's discuss what could go wrong with those things. And again, the reason why those petitions pretty much all get approved if you work with the professionals is because we have the advanced degree, because we propose something really important for the US government, and we prove that we have done it in the past. That's why we will be able to do it in the future. So if all those things are in place, we have a business plan on top of it, right? Or a professional plan. There's nothing that could go wrong. But let's say hypothetically, what number one reason that could prevent us from getting approval? And of course, that's the national interest. And the national interest is not the substantial merit part, but the national importance. So that's number one reason for denial of EB2 NIWs, where the immigration officer agrees with everything. That yes, there is a project, yes, it resolves some problem, yes, we can do this, yes, we have advanced degree and everything, but all that is not important to the US government, right? Like they don't need the resolution of this problem, because what's the benefit?
Maybe they don't have it.
Yeah, well, they even say we have this problem, but it's not beneficial for us to get a result, right? So it's weird, but it's and again, it may sound like what, like how? Yeah, but that's they do it in they have the framework, the legal framework, right? And sometimes it doesn't make sense, but that's what it is. That's what we deal with. And let me give you the example of that. What could what kind of case? I'm a firm believer that, and it's a little bit beyond our topic, but marketing specialists and the business consultants, they have almost zero chance to get approved for EB2. I don't take those cases.
I just say, look,
I was like, look, let's go EB1A or O1. Let's do something else. It's just, I'm happy to take your money, but I want to get you the result, right? And if I know in the beginning I can't get you the result, I'm not taking this case. Okay, it's not me. So But again, if we're from a medical field, believe it or not, this is, I would say, agro projects, AI projects, and health projects. Those are top three right now for the whole EB2 NIWs, right? So if you're bringing AI and artificial intelligence expertise, or you do some agro projects wherever the farms, the plants, the cows. We just had this nice case with the hotel for cows in EB2 NIWs approved. I love it. You know, it's a fun case. And the health just overall, those are really good. They are in demand now and will be in the future to get those things, those projects here in the US.
Just quickly though, because you mentioned the RFEs. I mean, we know what they are, but can you explain to people who's listening, like what an RFE is, just in case they ever get one?
Yeah, so that's the second point. That let's say we do have, let's say the officer says, the officer thinks that we don't bring anything of importance to the US, right? So he's not going to deny the case right away. He's going to send us an RFE, which stands for Request for Evidence, where he will explain his position and why he thinks they never actually do explain. They just, you know, let's just say insufficient evidence, insufficient, and it's a rare officer that like explains why it's insufficient, because otherwise you have to guess. They may say, okay, we don't believe this is important enough for us. So kind of giving us the second chance to provide more evidence why it is important. And that's where those support letters from the US, that's when they really kick in. If we didn't have them in the initial case, we need to bring them for the RFE to say that people in the US say, hey, immigration officer, whatever, X1800, we don't know their names. That's a big problem, and it's important to be resolved for the US government because X, Y, and Z. And bringing them the expertise, it's better to say not only that, but also I want that expertise of this guy. That's the best support letter. Sometimes we don't respond to RFEs, but instead we withdraw the case and refile it, just because sometimes it's clear that immigration officer made up his or her mind. It's just sometimes it's obvious. So we don't want to drag this case and just get the denial. We just instead withdraw as if nothing happened and refile it so another officer could see the same case. And in 90% of the cases, that's the approval, because just, you know, a different person has different, and that also shows how subjective those cases are. They're super subjective. Let me tell you, Marcos, and so our listeners could understand that thing too. EB2 NIW is so subjective, just overall, that not only immigration officer subjectively assess each criterion in the petition, but also if everything is up to the law and is satisfied, and we got the well positioned, the degree, everything is good, they still may approve. Okay, so I've never seen the case that all criteria have been accepted, but it wasn't. I never seen that. But in theory, that may happen. Not to say that okay, that's the reason not to apply. No. It's just you need to work with someone who really knows what they're doing, because otherwise the immigration officer is not going to be happy.
And on your view, I mean, you live and breathe this all the time. So what is the trend on approval and denials? Is it sort of on the approval side, or we're saying no to a lot of them? So
let me give you some historical perspective on this. If you asked me this question 4 years ago, the average across the industry, the average approval chance for EB2 NIW and EB2 in general was about 80%, which I believe is very high. It's a very high percentile. Right now, I know we see it in the cases and I hear from other colleagues, and the data shows it also that the EB2 NIWs probably get the chance of approval around 50 to 60% on average. In my company, we still keep it about 90%, just because we're putting so much resources into this. And if something changes, and the law doesn't really change, it hasn't changed for past, maybe 20 years in this industry, but what changes is the interpretation of that law. They're like, okay, this is a new policy, now we see it that way. So it's kind of, I think it's like borderline illegal or gray area, because that's kind of taking the Congress work and do it. So executive branch cannot do the Congress work. That's what I think, but that's what we deal with. We see recently increase in RFEs for sure. Undeniable, okay. But that's the result of the higher chances of getting denied just in general, right? Again, we approach it very seriously, and if we see the RFE, we analyze it, we dig it, we see what's maybe officer made a mistake, maybe didn't see some piece of evidence which is important to the case. This is deep analysis, but again, sometimes it's just they left us with no choice but to withdraw and refile.
And so there's a lot of demand, you said, of mental health, not only the way, it's like all around the world, right? Mental health is a big deal. Any other profession in the healthcare industry that is in big demand as well? Something that you've seen?
So we kind of went over this a little bit. I do believe mental health is number one. Then diagnostics, just diagnostics in general, right? Like bringing new methodology to diagnostics, bringing the technology and innovations, how to make a better diagnostics. The pharmaceutical industry, very good. Very good. We just got Sebastian Müller, our client from Germany. I can call his name because he's openly our client. There's an interview on my YouTube channel with him. He's a neurosurgeon, but past 4 or 5 years, he's been in the compliance with the pharmaceuticals, and he was able to build up the expertise to push the drugs faster to the consumers. So this is really good. This is a really good direction. Also education in the medical field. Really good, a really good endeavor. So if anyone has some experience in teaching, be it at the university, college level, or even sometimes at the level of the hospital or clinic or wherever they work, sometimes they pick a few doctors or medical professionals to teach others of whatever. That is a good one too. We mentioned the research, the academic research. This is a good endeavor as well. So I already called 5. You want me to do more?
No. I'm like, the top 5 is good enough. And now that we're coming to
top 5, and again, the sky's the limit here. This it's all very individual, because I think it's good to show that different parts of a profession are important. But again, if let's say someone like, let's say oncologist is listening to us right now, or cardiologist, like they cannot suddenly become a psychiatrist, right? They've been doing so now
they've done their career.
Now we need to dig in the past and the present to see what they can, and sometimes clients come to us and they don't know what their project would be, right? So we do at the complex immigration planning, we do the brainstorm with them, what could be their project. And again, for me, it's kind of easy exercise, because I will ask you, what did you do today in the morning at your work? like conceptually, not like
that's what we're doing.
Don't tell me how you looked in the ear or something, like tell me like the concept of what you've been doing, what methodology you used, what kind of maybe your own algorithm or diagnostics or something. So we brainstorm and we look what's the best direction, and then we proceed with that.
I wanted to ask you, like, what will be this healthcare professional listen to this whole podcast, and you have the chance to give them one last tip? What will be that tip?
My last tip would be do the free evaluation, guys. That's the best thing you can do. That's gonna give you much more than listening 10 podcasts like this, watching YouTube videos, reading, because the free evaluation is a series. It's first of all, it's free.
It's
But
real
it
life.
yeah, but it's gonna give you everything you wish for, like the understanding, basically the main thing that you want to know if you have the case, right? And if you know that you have the case, then it's up to you if you want to proceed with the following steps on that.
But at least you'll find out, and you don't have to pay for it. So it's a really
Yeah,
good tip.
it's
No,
no
Stanislav,
brainer.
exactly.
No-brainer.
Stanislav, I want to thank you so much for your time, for all of this incredible advice that you have given. I want to thank everybody for watching. You know where to find us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep coming back to our YouTube channel to listen to people like Stanislav. All of his details and the free consultation will be in the description for sure. And once again, Stanislav, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
It was a pleasure. Good luck.